Welcome back to our Stablecoin in Gaming podcast. I am Flav from the BGA, and I am your host for today. For the last few years, the Web3 gaming industry has been kind of obsessed with native governance tokens, mostly volatile assets, pump and dump, and oftentimes leaving the players empty-handed. But question will be, what happens when you strip away the speculation part and you actually build something, an entire game, and also a community tool around stability? And today I'm very pleased to talk to someone who has been involved in our space for quite some times. So the good and the bad, maybe mostly the bad, we'll talk about that, about our space. And today I see stablecoins not just as a payment rail, but as the core engine of a totally new gaming philosophy. So welcome to my guest, Nico Del Pino, CEO at OlaGG, Ola Gaming Guild. First, a powerhouse community in the Latin America space in gaming, but also behind these games I just talked about. So it is kind of new. So exciting to know exactly what's behind. Welcome, Nico, to the show. Would love you to introduce yourself and kind of understand what is OlaGG and what is the upcoming game.
Thank you, Flav. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. So I'm Nico, co-founder and CEO of OlaGG. I've been in the space for a while. Basically, OlaGG brings Web3 gaming opportunities to Latin America. So we are very focused on building a strong and resilient community across Latin America. We have our gaming platform as the house for the community to find out the latest opportunities, run their quest, participate in tournament, mini games, different community activities. Naturally, the community speaks, lives, and talks in Discord. But then what we do is we basically help our gaming partners and Web3 brands come to LatAm, right? So there's a lot of expansion efforts that we've been putting together for the last few years, and yeah, it's been a while. Actually, before Web3 gaming was even a thing. Now, when you mentioned stablecoins, I remember the first product offering that I participated was building on Bitcoin. This was before stablecoins.
Yeah.
We were using Bitcoin rails to do cross-border payments. Then stablecoins came and made the whole cross-border payment experience very straightforward. But even before that, maybe a little bit of the reality in emerging markets or Latin America, with a lot of difficulties for cross-border payments, and Bitcoin being the first maybe decentralized or non-government currency that had very strong liquidity across all the markets. We use it basically to do payments. It was all around buying Bitcoin locally in Argentina and Latin America and selling instantly in Europe and the US. So basically it was replacing the utility of a stable coin. Yeah. So yeah, it's been quite a journey over more than 10 years at this point, and very happy about maybe the next 10 years coming to this space.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, I feel like obviously for those who've been involved in the space for quite some times in Web3 blockchain and blockchain gaming, you are mostly familiar with the Philippines as the nation of adoption of these kind of blockchain gaming, blockchain games and everything. I think it was the 2021 craziness, especially because Axie Infinity come from it. But I feel like people didn't see that actually Latin America was actually very big at that time too, with you as one of the actors of that space, because of everything you just said, and we're going to talk about that just after, which is the willingness of Latin American to actually adopt these new currency, first Bitcoin and the other cryptocurrency. So we're going to try. We already talked about that in our different episode of the podcast, but with you specifically, we're going to try to understand why is that, level of adoption possible in this region, and especially how this is tied to gaming, because it's payment, but also how you tie that to a gamified experience. So I'm very pleased to have you on the show. As you said, you've been in the space for quite some time. um, do you feel like today we can finally say that our space is mature enough to build sustainable business model, especially based on where you come from, which is this craziness of the YGG model, the this kind of organization we talked about before. So how do you analyze that?
Yeah, I think we're far from mature as an
Okay.
industry, being the Web3 gaming industry or the GameFi. We're exploring a little bit around GameFi because we do like the intersection between gaming and DeFi, and
Yeah.
stablecoins are at the core of this.
Mm.
But there's still a lot of experimentation, and it's been a few battles that we've found out about lots of models that don't really work. And currently, we're moving into the next phase, exploring sustainable business models with real value for the users, and real business models that could be sustainable, profitable, and make lives better for the audience. I think that's where we are.
Do you feel like we at the beginning of our ecosystem again, 2021 to 2025? I think I can include 2025 into it. That the missing point, the biggest pain point we had was not thinking about sustainability when we build a business. Yeah.
Well, definitely that was a huge miss, and maybe we were naive enough to think that tokens would accrue value over time. That
Yeah.
simply giving tokens away, someone would demand, and those tokens in the long run. And it was a free ride that we got in the end because a lot of like magic internet money was created for some time. It was a cheat sheet in a way as well. We've met a lot of Web2 game developers coming into the space because they realized that Web3 had different tools, both for fundraising and for using user acquisition.
Yeah.
So um, if you introduce a model where you can create a token out of nowhere and simply deliver tokens to players, and that's how you hook players into the game. That's a very straightforward acquisition strategy.
Mm.
And it worked for a short time, basically. The reality is building an economy is super hard. It's super hard at the global level, at the country level. Nowadays, I think all the countries in the world are experiencing different levels of inflation because they are issuing more
Yeah.
paper currency that the model, the economy is demanding. Imagine that at the micro level of a new game with just a handful of players, and we are all issuing tokens out. And there might be some theoretic utility for the token to exist, and I think governance do deserve a different chapter in the conversation on token utility. But the end is all about money. We're calling players to come because they can earn some money, and tokens are liquid, so everything is tradable. So it's very easy to maybe lose a little bit of the north reference on what it means to build a sustainable economy.
True.
Maybe jumping into stablecoins by definition, they do come with a sustainable model behind it. And that's why it is very reasonable for you to be speaking about stablecoins in the first place, and maybe for us to incorporate stablecoins in our model. And we can be creative with stablecoins per se. Maybe the stablecoins, they do seem like a boring tool, like a payment gateway, but I do think there's a little bit more than that behind it. So happy
Yeah.
to jump into it.
Yeah, and we can do that because, as you said, so you said first it's all about money. But although the name of the game, which is Don't Spend, is almost a little bit provocative in the gaming industry as a whole as well, because every major game is designed to make you spend. So where did that name come from? And you say the system is designed to make people spend, and you want to build the opposite. So
Yes.
Guide me into that thought you had with the team, and what does it mean exactly?
Yes. Maybe a small clarification. We are building a game that will be announced most likely next week. The name of the game is not Don't Spend,
Okay.
but the premise under what we're building is under Don't
The
Spend
ethos.
like
Yeah.
pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're building games that don't require users to spend their money.
Mm-hmm.
And we do want to take some cultural take in this approach. I think we are a little bit saturated in the way everybody's pushing new products for people to buy, consume, and be spending money all the time. I think this is a unsustainable flywheel in the end. We're all chasing maybe a rat race that we're never getting there, and we want to make a little bit of a pause in that in that consumer culture, and we want to appreciate money per se, right? So we wanna encourage people to save other than spend. I
Mm.
think money has value per se. Money can grow independently, and I think we can honor those that are saving with a real value proposition, a real game. So we're building around this narrative that you can save to play, or you can play to save. That
Mm.
should be fun to save, a new experience. So we're building a game that runs on money, but we are not charging a penny to play the game. You
Okay.
will be using your money as your ticket to participate, but your money will always be your money. So I think you're getting a little bit on what's all about. Is it definitely the cleanest intersection between gaming and DeFi that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So this is true GameFi in our opinion.
And it feels like it's also following your ethos, even through OlaGG, everything you've built so far, which is education. Like you want to
Yes,
educate both the developers, the gaming entrepreneurs, but especially the players about what does it mean to involve blockchain into your process, which could be playing a
exactly.
game, which could be developing a game, or so. How would you put this education part into the game? What is your plan?
It's definitely around education, and it's definitely around financial inclusion. So in
Yeah.
the end, with Clara, my partner, when we were debating about what's next for Ola, this model really fit the original mission that we put together when we decided to build Ola in the first place. Our mission is to bring financial inclusion opportunities to the Latin American audience. And we believe this needs to be built on blockchain only,
Yeah.
if you ask me, because blockchain is permissionless, is open to all to participate, has basically very little restrictions to participate. And you can get started just like that. Still, these days in Latin America, the population using the banking system is quite limited. The population using smartphones is all over the place, as all
Mm.
around the world. So what if I do believe DeFi brings most likely the best financial services in the world, better than TradFi. So our mission is to build those and make them available at scale to everybody to participate. And we are using games as the experience that makes the whole thing simply fun, right?
Yeah.
So it's an educational game in the end, because you're learning a real positive habit for your real life, but it's a real game in the end. This is not simply gamifying a home banking experience. This is not simply sending some dopamine every time you add $1 into your new account.
Yeah.
This is a real game. So we're putting our efforts and money and investment in building a real game with a very compelling and fun narrative. That's what we are building first. But then we're highly innovating in the business model. We're shifting gears um, quite dramatically from an industry that was simply um, pushing to sell you whatever they can,
Yeah.
and into a new model that will be putting all the attention into say whatever you can. I mean, the future is uncertain. Money has value on its own. You don't need to be rich to save. You need simply to build on good habits. And we do believe games are the best infrastructure and tools to build habits in the end. Playing games is all around those habits. So those are the ingredients that we put in together for us to build this next generation of Web3 games.
Yeah, as you said, positive, but also I guess meaningful habits, like based on the kind of mechanics you have, and it
Right.
really fits to, it really echoes to what Yatsu from Animoca Brands is saying for the past month, which is relying on game, will at least relying on game mechanics to provide some sort of financial literacy for those who need to, and I really feel like it fits with what you. Why this new model? I would say in the opposite actually way. Why stablecoin actually is the only one who can make sense for your new model to work. I would say. Well, how do you make the new model work for stablecoins, and why are you not using something which is tokens, a game token into that? So, how you plan to involve stablecoin, and why specifically stablecoin?
Yeah, we wanna build habits and a gaming
Yeah.
experience, but mainly habits for the long run. So
Mm.
we do need those instruments that are. We believe there's value on the long run. Sadly, tokens, most of the tokens out there, they haven't proved the case that they will accrue value over time. So we don't want to take risks. We're not after traders that they will come after maybe some quick win, buying low or selling high. That's not the business we're entering. We're here to provide a financial platform beyond a gaming experience that will build positive habits for the long run. And stablecoins are definitely the first, not the last product offering. But we will be embarking more and more into real world assets, and
Yeah.
we're very passionate about the strongest products in blockchain like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a few others that you can really trust for the long run, because the demand for these new blockchain products is already there. I think we can build a case for those for the long run. But stablecoins is the natural language for a first step. I think in the end we're all into some sort of quest to defeat inflation at the local level or the global level. Locally, especially in Latin America, local currencies they still devaluate at a very fast rate. So the initial challenge is how do you get off the local fiat, the local currency, the local peso, local real, and move into USD savings account. That's not highly popular in Latin America, although it's pretty
Mm.
much needed. So rails onto stablecoins, I think there's lots of value per se. And once you're on at the stablecoin level, you still need to escape the global inflation that the US is putting into the US dollars.
Mm.
So you need to be creating some sort of interest on those stablecoins. And to create interest with stablecoins, there's lots of proven models at this point. So we are going into a very safe route, very tested models out there. We're not after maximizing yield, but we're after maximizing a long-term experience for those that are willing to play the long-term game. Yeah.
Okay, got you. We can come back on the Latin America specialties while we are focusing on that as well. And I would love you to tell me if I'm wrong, if I understand correctly. But I do fully rely on the game and what you're able to develop and launch as a gamer. Like, I totally understand. Do you feel like, based on what we just said and your mission, which is fighting the threats from local, currencies in LatAm, it is
Yeah.
actually defining the how unique will be your game, which will be really addressed to Latin America players, or US or myself from France, I could not understand the way you're gonna shape or design these app. Like, do you feel like there is a unique aspect of
No,
your game based on the time?
we're building for a Latin American audience. Our user persona lives in Sao Paulo, Brazil, to be more specific.
Okay.
But it's definitely a global character. And
Okay.
yesterday we were debating some of the names of the main characters, and a lot of Japanese names came to mind because they really reflect the values that we want to bring into the character. So definitely will be a global game. And as you said, you participate with stablecoins, so it's quite open for all. The narrative is quite novel and a little bit of what we are all facing these days. We're playing literally with this whole debate between the AI taking over the world and what's the role for automation, the bots, what's the value of the human being? Is there some sort of conflict between machines and the humans? We're having a lot of fun writing this thesis. We're putting a little bit of this content already out there. If you check the website don'tspend.io, you can find a little bit about the NOx Corporation, that really stands for No Oxygen Corporation. So the game will be a little bit interactive and a little bit maybe futuristic or maybe too real to be true.
Yeah.
These days.
Storytelling is very deep.
Very deep,
Yeah.
very philosophical, and the roles of saving becomes key in the way
Yeah.
you introduce yourselves to this new reality, right? So
Love it.
there's definitely a global narrative that's very open for the French and for the Asians, Europeans, and Americans.
Do you feel like like there is something obviously in Europe, if we go to the if we go outside from the blockchain world but still in the economic landscape, where in Europe we have one currency for all the countries, although not the same languages, which is euro, and it's aiming to speed up the kind of commercial abilities for those countries to exchange things together and value together. Do you feel like, based on the adoption we're seeing for quite some times, 5, 6, 7 years, as you said, Bitcoin, I can say Bitcoin, I can say stable coins as well, which is one currency which is freely tradable, accessible for anyone. Do you feel like this could aim to, for all the countries in LatAm, to actually have the same purpose that we have in the traditional finance system in Europe, which is the ability to exchange values between
Yeah.
those countries?
Yeah, maybe. I think for quite some times, USD stablecoins already won a little bit that battle to be the trading currency for all the tokens out there,
Yeah.
right? So in a way, this is being pushed heavily by the US, making the dollar the default currency for global trading.
Yeah.
It's quite weird, but Argentina is very close to Uruguay. I can see Uruguay from my window, basically. If I want to trade with Uruguay, Argentinian pesos with Uruguayan pesos, I need to trade with the US dollar first.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Argentinian pesos for US dollars and US dollars for Uruguayan pesos.
Oh, wow.
That's not a direct link, fiat to fiat. So it's quite heavily armed around how the value the US dollar brings to the global economy. And that's a huge battle that at some point, I guess, will be challenged. And we're seeing some maybe alternative through Bitcoin as an alternative rail. But that definitely that battle is way bigger than the fight that we do want to take. Maybe it's quite natural for us to speak about stable coins because it's culture. It's culture. It's a global system, the banking system. But especially for Argentinians, we've always think in terms of US dollars, right?
Yeah.
Because we've never relied on the local currency being able to hold value for a few months. So everything is maybe in our mind, we're always converting to USD. Every transaction, every the cost of Coke, of the rent, of the bus, everything trades in dollars instinctively. So maybe that's a little bit of our mind Argentinian spirit to, okay, let's push a currency that's already way adopted globally. It's already the one currency that blockchain trades across, and let's try to hedge our inflation challenges and saving accounts in USD first, and definitely open for maybe more interesting alternatives in the longer run. But we're not pushing the most sophisticated products, financial products first. The challenge, I'm back a little bit to maybe the situation with Web3 gaming. I think the challenge first and foremost is around the game, not everything else. Everything else is what complements a fun gaming experience. So if our game fails to be fun, the whole system falls apart. You won't buy into our game because you're looking for a new savings account.
Mm.
You will buy into the game because the game is fun on the daily, and on top of that you see some rewards for the long run, and that you're building positive habits. So that's where you might get hooked in. But we won't attract you with better yield. We'll get you with a fun experience if you're a gamer.
And not saying about you or about myself, but we, as an industry, we spend sometimes years to understand that, like just not focus on the right thing, but focusing on, you know, what you should be building, which is first a game.
Yeah, I
Mm.
think I mean, building a fun game is very hard to control, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for us to build the savings account, that's
Mm.
very easy to set up. I mean, that's you follow what you need to do and you implement it and you have it. Now
Mm.
build a game that's fun. I mean, we're having a lot of fun building a game, but then it's all around the user experience. So
Mm.
we're excited about launching a closed alpha version probably next week. I
Okay.
will take it very slowly, incorporating feedback from users. We're launching with just a handful of users next week, and
Including
we'll grow
myself,
slowly from
obviously.
there. Yeah,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
everything that we're putting together is all around user feedback.
Okay.
Everything that will be incorporated from here onward will depend on what the users are telling us that's the most fun that they found.
Yeah.
So I think that's the real challenge. Everything that we spoke about, financial products and all that stuff, that's very secondary to our offering.
Definitely. Do you, or because it's based on the main narrative of this podcast, which is why should we care about stablecoins in gaming in any way? But obviously, we need to highlight the fact that it's not just about payment and everything. It has to tie to gaming mechanics, and as you said, fun. Do you consider the idea of building mechanisms within your game or your engaging platform? We can include OlaGG as well with the use
Yeah,
of AI agent, or you know, kind of making your users interact with those agents. Does it make sense even?
absolutely, absolutely. I think this is what we need to be building right now.
Mm.
We've been learning a lot about AI. The whole game is being built with AI. It's vibe coding in the end, but this is a real deep game in
Yeah.
the end. Well, it's deep. It's not just a prompt, but it's all AI driven.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters, the art, the quests. What we're doing with OlaGG is we more and more contents coming out via AI, and we're using agents internally to
Yeah.
make the platform smarter. So we can decide what's the best content that we can produce,
Mm.
following what's happening maybe in our industry, in our market, but also listening to the users' behavior, what they're clicking, what they're coming back for,
Yeah.
and we can basically build an engine that is smarter than us. That's the end. And the
And
possibilities
will you be
to
worried at some point if some of the mechanics you will have on your game, well, one of your AI agent within the game will be able to process this responsibility of spending something in behalf of the users? How do you see that? Is it seeing too far away?
that does look a little bit far away, especially because the whole premise is around don't spend. So if the agent were to be
Yeah,
spending,
of
that
course.
agent needs to be fired.
That's a good point. Fair. That's fair. Yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah.
as the last question, how does success look like for you in in 5 years? Will it be million of players each saving, you know, $50, $100, or is it something more structural, like convincing the gaming industry that this model actually works? Like, what will it be?
Yeah, so I mean, one of our main KPIs will be TVL
Mm.
as the first and foremost DeFi metric that speaks about how many dollars trust your
Yeah.
platform and how robust the whole system is.
Yeah.
So we were building to host a large amount of stablecoins in our platform. That's first and foremost. And secondly, I think that this model defies a little bit more the fintech models that are coming to market, and not so much the new gaming models. Games will continue to sell products, and I think that's fine. That's simply natural. But I think banks and fintech platforms they deserve to be shaken a little bit to when you think about what's the value they offer to their user base. Banking has been evolving for quite some time. Obviously, back in the day, we had traditional banks, retail stores with employees. They served you coffee, they treat you nicely. And that moved on into an app, into the cloud, and into a very nice user interface and user experience that is very easy to use, and you can pay stuff with your phone and you can invest on your phone. And here we are in 2026, where the fintech and the wallet competition is truly there. But in my opinion, they're all very comparable. I mean, they're great, but now the competition needs to take a further step. So we're really investing into entertaining the user. If we want to earn your dollar, we're investing into entertainment. And the game we're putting together is what we believe deserves you to deposit your dollar in our wallet and not in other wallet. So I think that's the industry that we are going after in the end.
I love that. That's definitely how we learned in the BGA as well. Like we've been in the space for quite some times, but we learned a lot from what's working and especially for what's not working. And we found out like it's not just about building a game with kind of blockchain infrastructure behind it, however it will be, but also trying to make industries like financial institution, but other industries like Netflix is gamifying the whole experience of watching a game, watching a movie. It feels like there is something happening in terms of gamified experiences, and blockchain has something
Yeah.
to say around that. So I definitely agree
Look,
on
in a
that.
way, I think it's fair to say that gaming will take over the world. The same
Yeah,
way
yeah.
software took over the world, AI is
Agree.
taking over the world. If stuff get automated more and more, we'll spend more time being entertained,
Yeah.
and thing needs to be gamified in the first step, but real gaming is the final step.
Agree.
And I think it simply makes sense in this evolution that we're taking. Life in a way is a little bit of a game, right? You
Life is
have
a
your
game,
project.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You need to build your character. You need to find a place for yourself, for your family, your house, your income. You need to play for the long run. So I think we're adding into that equation that and taking the gaming experience into, okay, now my relationship with money. Could this be a game as well? And I do think that there's lots of room to build in
Yeah.
here.
And obviously, at the end, we will all head to a Ready Player One
Yeah.
situation. So we have to be ready. But no, it's obviously a joke, but I do fully rely on what you said, because it seems like it's uh, the the fight for attention is going is
Yes.
going right now, but it's going to be more and more related to that. So I totally agree with that. So I I'm wishing you the best for the launch of the game, hoping that I will be one of the beta testers next week or
Yeah,
the weeks
please
after.
do.
Yeah,
I'll
but
send you
I
an
love that.
early access.
Yeah, I love that, and I don't know, but I love to say anyway. I don't know when this episode will be out, but I will wish you the best for Gamescom LatAm, which will happen tomorrow for a few days. So have
Correct.
fun there, and yeah, thanks a lot for your time, Nico. It was a great conversation. I love that.
Thank you, Flav. It's a pleasure to be here as always, and hoping we can do this more often. Hoping we meet in person anytime soon. So let me know whenever you're coming to LatAm.
I'd love that. Thanks a lot, Nico. I'll see you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.